I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man,
I miss
that
that
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Record, you should get maybe a message to prove that.
Oh, okay. Maybe a little warning. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So today on the show, we've got a really special guy. We've been trying to coordinate schedules, and I think we finally got him right before school starts here. He was the former site Q at Futurama. He's a new teacher this year, and I know just personally I've been able to enjoy his company in the gloom multiple times. So I'm just excited to have you here. Othello is on the show. So Othello, welcome. And if you don't mind, just start us from the beginning. Who EH you? What was the first workout like? If you remember who was the Q, I would love to hear.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. However, congrats on your 4-year today, since that's this Friday. So congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Super awesome and very proud of your journey. And keep pushing, keep grinding.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for allowing me to come on, and finally our schedule synced up where we can allow this, and I'm super excited. So yeah, man. So I can say I was originally EH, because he wants me to tell you this. I was originally EH by Folsom.
Okay.
And it was pretty much like January, February of 2019, I believe. And because I knew Folsom through the school I work at, Loveland, I was the director of the before and after school program, and I've had his kids in the program among tons of other F3 dudes. So we were at the Casual Pint, and I was just hanging out, and he was like, "Hey, man, you should come work out with me in the mornings. I think you will love it, and and yeah, you should do it." And at that time, I was like, absolutely not, because I already had like my routine down. At that time in my life, I would work out at the gym in the mornings, and then go and into work and work during the day. And so I'm like, well, and I'm I love to swim. I love to just like do my yoga, put the tunes on and zone out. So I said no. And then it was about July, about late June of that year. And at that point, I got a summer job where I was a shuttle bus driver for the airport. And I will work at like 4 in until about 10 o'clock, and then I will go to the school. Well, at that time, I remember sitting at the hotel waiting for the next pick up the next customers, and Armbar sent me a tweet of a name Rama, and he was like, "Dude, like what is this? Like half of these guys are like loving dads," and I was like, "I don't know what is this, And so, kind of find out, we figure what it was because later like that week, I was living with Rancid at the time. So Rancid and I was roommates, and we were into video games, and so we will play Rock Band. And one night, Smash Mouth and Armbar came over. The 4 of us were just hanging out playing Rock Band. And I specifically remember when Armbar and Smash Mouth left, Armbar was like, "Yeah, so that Name-A-Rama thing, that video with the guys, is a workout group. I'm gonna show up like the next day or something like that." Like I remember them talking about it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool. You do your own thing." Because at the same time, Armbar and I, we had kind of like our own like boot camp workout where we went to Prairie Lane Elementary, yeah, and we would work out on that playground set. and then have coffee afterwards. And the following week, he called me, which is rare. Like if Armbar calls you, it's like, okay, like what's going on? This is not a text. And it was a Friday, and he was like, "Hey man, so I know we got Prairie Lane tomorrow, but you should come out with me to this workout because it's pretty much what we're doing right now, but it's with more guys, and I really think you will love it. I know you. I think this is gonna be like your thing because it's cool, it's fun. Like guys get deep." And I'm like, all right, like, okay, you know. I'm like, because to me, I'm like, all right, got my schedule planned. I'm ready to go to Prairie Lane. I already know what we're going to do. So I'm like, all right. So he, I drove to his house, and then we went to, it was that Saturday, July 6th. It was the Oracle at Boys Town. So of course, pre-COVID. And the first thing, of course, we're driving up, and I just see a bunch of American flags, so shovel flags. And being African American, I would say my first thought was, okay, what is going on here? What is happening here? Because I see all these American flags and a slew of white dudes, and it's like, early in the morning at Boys Town. I'm like, what is happening here? And as we parked, he told me, he was like, so today you're gonna be called F and G. And I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, friendly new guy, and just gave me like a smile. And I'm like, okay, that's fun. That kind of like relieved the tension a little bit. So I'm like, F and G, friendly new guy. Well, I know I'm friendly and I'm the new guy, so okay, let's see what this thing's about. Sorry, this is incredibly detailed because it is a story.
I love it.
So we get a car, we roll up, and this was before the pit, so there was a lot of guys there.
Yeah.
And since there was so many guys, we split off into two groups.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so at that point, I got into the mindset where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, put my theater training to practice and just be present and be vulnerable and see where this takes me. So with that being said, we're counting off by ones and twos to be in our groups. And I decided to be separate from Armbar because he was like, hey, so you're gonna be with me? And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna go with the other group. And I'm glad I did that because my first workout was a pretty cool experience, because the first thing that happened was that we moseyed towards the practice field. I was in Vandelay's group, I believe. I think he was the Q in my circle, my group. And one of the exercises we did when we were Rama was monkey humpers. And I just remember laughing my ass off because I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is fun. Like I'm pretty much twerking. Like, what is okay? Like, there was an exercise that I just like, I like this.
Yeah.
And I just remember the guys looking at me weird because I was seriously just laughing like nonstop during the cadence. And then the second thing is that we go to the practice field, and the main beatdown was I was in a group. It was 4 of us, and in my group I had Folsom. So I was like, there you go, Folsom. You're in my group. My first workout. There you go. Waffle House and ethanol.
Oh, cool.
And it was just one of those things where, like, I just remember just the interaction with those 3 guys, and it was just, it was just a really positive time. And so then we went to Namarama, we did a thing. I was planning to move to Chicago originally that October.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was the original plan, because they were trying to give me names like Second City, which I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then I talked about I was in the theater, and then someone said Shakespeare, but we already had Shakespeare. And then someone said Juliet, and I was like, oh no. And then it was Folsom. So again, another credit to Folsom. It was Folsom because he was next to me, and he was like, Othello. And then everyone was like, Othello. And then of course my first thought was like, of course they're gonna name me like the black character from Shakespeare. Like, okay, there we go. But everyone was like, but you're just like your voice is really loud and carry. And so yeah, so I was like, there we go. And then what sealed the deal for me was that afternoon, I got a text from both Waffle House and Safe Ride.
Hmm.
Just saying, hey man, great job, thanks for coming out. And it was that follow-up. So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool that they called and did that. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love that you remember all of that detail. And what a great group. I mean, all three of those guys, Waffle, Folsom, and Ethanol, have been doing F3 for 4 years. We haven't seen Ethanol in a while, but
Yeah.
he's a great guy. So you did get a good group. So tell me, so since you had been working out, was the workout really challenging, or you just remember laughing at the monkey humpers, or what was
Yeah, I just I only remember the laughing at the monkey humpers because we were in the when you go in Oracle, you go down that long strip by the gym, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
that parking lot at the end.
Mhm.
We stopped there first, and I just remember standing there, and I was told to do the monkey humpers, and this like halfway through, I'm just like laughing, and guys just kind of like, they will look up, like, what's he laughing at, and like, why is he so loud, and what's going on?
Right.
And then the actual beat down, the relay around the track, because I remember Waffle House, like pretty much he had to push me, and I had to push Ethanol.
Okay.
Um, and that was the only thing I remember, to be honest. Oh, and then of course named Marama.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries. Do you feel like, from a fitness standpoint, how have you grown in your fitness over the last few years? Because so you've been doing this since July 2019, right? So
Yes, sir. Yeah, 2019. So prior to that, I was in my own little like routine where I had a gym membership. I would go do yoga, do like a cardio. So I'll do the elliptical, or I would run, or swim. And then that was kind of like my process for a while. And at the time of F3, I was like to be honest, I was like at my best shape because of like the 2 years prior of me just like really taking the initiative and like losing weight since college. Because the highest I've ever the heaviest I've ever weighed was 356.
oh, okay.
And that's when I was 20. It was my nope, I was 19. It was my sophomore year in college. And ever since then, I just had a change of mind. Because what happened was that I got denied riding a ride at Worlds of Fun. So to me, that was like my shame moment. Like, all right, I gotta lose weight.
Mhm.
And it was like a 10-year process. Like all that time, I went down to like 245.
Okay.
And when I started F3, that's when, because I was like, well, I've been consistent. I want to be, I want to get down lower. And then Armbar, since he's the gym teacher and I was the before and after school director, like I was on the stage, and the stage is located in the gym. So we always cross paths. And, knowing that he was an athlete, I would have conversations with him. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to change things up. So I felt I was pretty good. But then ever since I joined F3, it definitely helped create a strong foundation for my health. So it's one of those things where like, I definitely was like gun ho at the beginning. Was one of the first ones to do the khakis challenge that October with, I believe it was just Safe Ride and Armbar and I the first year. I think it was just the three of us. Because Armbar had that conversation with khaki. So it was like October. And so I was seeing on the news sites, I was experiencing different types of workouts, i.e., running a lot more,
Mhm.
and then having the opportunity to do like pre-runs and pre-rugs. So over the time of my experience in F3, I can say like I have a solid foundation of like just like physical fitness. It's
Yeah.
just the attitude. It's just you just got to do it.
Yeah, man, I love that. And how great. So Armbar, so funny story, right? So Armbar, I think they moved here, when I like sometime in the 90s or maybe early 2000s. But anyway, I was in elementary
Yeah.
school with his sister, which, if you've listened to my interview with him, his sister and I actually dated, but that's another podcast. Uh, but But this like Armbar, what a cool guy, right? Because even before F3, he was like looking out for somebody else in his community, trying to find ways to help you get better. And
Yeah.
just kind of cool that your paths have crossed. I really just always admired your guys' relationship and friendship there. Smash Mouth too, I'm sure has been a part of that too, just the community at level.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting because I think a lot of guys identify with what you're saying is like having a journey of really trying to get fit from a physical perspective. Do you feel like the Pogo 40 and some of the Queen service, like have you been able to identify or engage with any of that stuff over the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. So I was part of I've done Queen service twice now. I did the first time. I believe that's when TC was the cue for that. And then I did it a second time, I think a year ago. And yeah, it's a great accountability like program. Like it's great to have the opportunity to just connect with guys, like having that permission to say, hey, we're doing this thing together, so let's be vulnerable, right? Let's take pictures of the scale, let's talk about our challenges, let's post our rate, our weight and our waist size and whatnot. So I strongly believe like the Queen service is beneficial, just to help provide a structure and a foundation for guys, especially if they kind of like need that extra push or that goal to say like, hey, I want to lose X amount of weight, or I kind of want to maintain, but I want to be able to grow, just whatever their physical needs are, is just a great tool to have.
What would you say, like if somebody's considered Queen service or maybe doesn't know about it? I mean, what would be your kind of elevator pitch to kind of get somebody interested in that?
I would really have to say just, it just goes to if this is something that you're truly looking to do, like it calls some serious reflection, right? So it's one of those things where if you strongly want to say, hey, I want to change my lifestyle, I want to change up my physical routine and whatnot, and I need to be held accountable. If that's your jam, then yeah, you should definitely do it. But let's be honest, if that's not your jam, don't waste your time because you're not going to follow through, right? You can say, oh, well, I'm just not going to post my weight today, or oh, I skipped that, this and that, which again, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. But I really try to lean in and tell guys, here's the opportunity, right? It's there. You have to reach out for it. Like, I can't make you, right? But I'm going to strongly encourage you because there are benefits from it, especially if you're the person who want these changes.
Yeah.
As I told some guys, and I had a COT about this, but it's just one of those things where I have the saying that I took from one of my best friends, was that I refuse to be the sad author of my own tragic story.
That's good.
Like, I refuse, you know, like if you are truly unhappy about something, then change the narrative.
Yeah.
You have the power to do that.
Yeah.
Will it be easy? Probably not. Will it be challenging? Yeah. But that's the sacrifices, and that's what you have to do to overcome it, because that's just how life is, So that's why I'm grateful that I'm naturally a positive and optimistic guy, and I can see that like very clear. But some guys struggle with that, and so yeah, it's just be accountable. This is what you want to change, then yeah, you should do Queen service. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And so I was talking with Specimen this morning, and he just had the baby number 4, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds stressful.
I'm sorry, who?
Specimen.
Oh, okay.
So he said something really similar though. He just said, I've decided I'm not going to be the type of parent that complains about their kids, because my wife and I, we prayed to have kids, right? And we really wanted to have kids. And so kind of this idea, like you're saying, like, don't author the sad story, right? I mean, author the story of triumph that you changed it or had a new perspective. So I love that, man.
Absolutely.
Curious your thoughts. So we talked a little bit about, so you knew Armbar, you knew Smash Mouth, and you knew Folsom and some other guys, and then as you come into the group, what was your experience just developing relationships or that second half? How was that for you?
For me, I would say that's in my wheelhouse. That's like my F. Because of just innately who I am. I've always been curious by people.
Yeah.
I always want to know what people's stories are and who they are and their experience. Like, again, just from the theater experience and just my childhood is like I just have a very imaginative mind. And yeah, I just love people because everyone is so different. Everyone has a lot to offer. So for me, I didn't have a problem forging relationships within F3. Some of the ones that I would say are more substantial are the ones that who reciprocate vulnerability. Who's willing to also challenge me to think inward and reflect. So like the biggest one, which I would definitely name drop, will be Slow Pitch. I absolutely love that man. And he is on the list of one of my favorite cues of all time. And it was the cue he did at the Wild Kingdom back in 2019. And that was the first, like, because at that time I probably posted maybe like a dozen times. And that was the first COT with when a Q was like being completely open and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it was the whole like talking about his experiences and there was a lot of fun little like, oh, some people can say that's too much information, but to me I'm like, yes, like this is true because we all do weird things and crazy stuff like that. So yeah, man, keep talking. So for me, be able to be real with like Doppler and with Patton and with Roadhouse, I really love those opportunities to just take the time to like, let's just talk. Let's just get to know each other. And then let's also negate the fact that we are weird and we have different perspectives and we embrace that. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that too. And to me, it's like the sooner we embrace that, right? The fact like we're all a little weird, and the sooner we can admit that, and the sooner we can actually, break down those walls that then lead to relationships, which has been great. And so I'm curious, was it cafeteria? Was it just fellowship during the workout? What was the thing that you felt like really helped you kind of find the other guys to engage with throughout your time in F3?
So I would say it's a mixture of both,
Okay.
So like for me, it's like when I say both, cafeteria and during the workouts. So of course cafeteria, like that's obviously like the best time, because you just went through a shared experience, right? You just share that beat down with each other. So why not have the opportunity to just sit there and connect with one another? Without the I don't want to say distraction because that's a negative word, but without going through a beat down, right? Not like really like sweating your ass off and breathing like crazy, but to actually sit there and connect. So I found that very valuable at cafeteria. In addition to Q Source, hearing guys just talk about their perspectives and just those kind of discussions was really beneficial. And then the other aspect during the beatdown, so this is where I get like very like passionate about. And as a former PsyQ and just as an individual, I always praise beatdowns. As in like I always love how a beatdown is structured. So, going into different cues and knowing like, oh, so that's your flavor, oh, that's your spin, that's what you like to do. Like, because we allow that. We give permission for guys like, hey, step up and lead a workout. You can lead it however you want. Go for it, And when that experience, like, so Sparty, I'll put him in the category where another individual I deeply admire, but that came from like, oh, so this is an individual who knows the structure, who knows the system, and he's playing all the cards right? He's giving a great beat down. He's giving a great message of COT, being vulnerable. He's able to relate and connect with you in cafeteria. So to me, I'm like, okay, this is a pride example of a him in during a beatdown, like, you know, and I can be able to see that and then connect with them and say, hey man, I see how you structure that workout. I can connect with you. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your process and whatnot. And so, and then of course our friendship got deeper from there. Another good example of that is Rancid. Now, one thing about Rancid is that, I mean, we've been friends, like best friends for like, you know, what, 10 years now. But we were roommates for 3 years, and I can say I EH'd him, but really it was he's the one who took the initiative because he knew I was working out, because he joined that October. So I was that July, and he first posted at Wed Wing that October. And I mean, he literally came into my room and he was like, "So you going to workout on Monday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go there." I'm like, "Cool, great," because I knew he would like that, because Red Wing was like structured. There's a system to Murph, right? The one thing like about Rancid, and this is like one of our connection points, is that we take our time planning a beatdown. So when we live together, we will seriously have conversations on like, okay, I'm going to do these things for Warmer Rama, these exercises, then we're going to do the pre thing and the post thing, and if we're going to do Bonnie Blair's, then maybe we should switch up and do like an upper body workout, not to exhaust guys. Like, everything is intentional.
Yeah.
And I love that. So if you ever come to one of my workouts, my beatdowns, oh, everything is intentional, because I really think about, you know, the packs and the workout, and I value that. I value structure. And so that was one of the ways like Rance and I will operate. You know, and that's in contrast to, you know, guys like Armbar, who's like, oh, I never plan Warmerama. I'll just see how I feel. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome that you can do that.
Yeah. I love that. What do you think it is? I mean, you know, so as you came into the group, you mentioned the shared experience. I mean, how did you get to a place where you were vulnerable? Because you didn't know, you know, so like with guys you didn't know. So is it just finding that thing you can connect with them on and then see where the relationship goes? Or do you feel like you got to a place where you felt like, hey, this group accepts me for who I am and where I'm at in my life? Like tell me about that process. Because I think a lot of guys are maybe like they're in F3, they maybe haven't fully shared who they really are. You know, I don't know. What would you say has been your experience?
Well, it's one of those things where, you know, I truly try to see the good in everyone, like the positives, you know. And sometimes I may struggle with an individual, cause because I feel everyone has some positive trait about them, or something that you can connect with them on. And with me, it's just one of those things where, like, going back to earlier, I never had a problem making connection with folks, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, after you get to know someone, it's kind of like, great, we have a strong connection, we can continue hanging out. Or if I don't have a strong connection with someone, I'm still going to respect them, right? Like, I'm still going to like respect who you are as an individual, because we have a shared experience, and that's F3. We may have different views, we may conflict on whatnot, we may have different beliefs, what have you. But to me, I think that just adds to the full experience. So sure, we may not hang out like every single day, but I'm still going to respect you as an individual and what you can bring.
Yeah.
And then vice versa is one of those things. From my perspective, I know who I am as an individual. I can offer a lot. You know, I can give a lot of insights and different perspectives. And, you know, after having time, you know, in F3, is kind of like, oh, well, this individual just needs like a little extra push in whatever they're doing, or this individual just really needs to be heard and need to be seen, and I want to be there like for them, you know. So it really, again, F3 just give folks the opportunity to just connect, and using what you share to like help others. So like yeah, it was June of it actually was Juneteenth of 2020, and you know, it's the onset of the Black Lives Matter and just this, you know, just the social unrest in our country and here in Omaha as well. And so I led a work out the woodshed, be authentic leader, which a lot of individuals and folks have come out and reached to me and really enjoyed and learning during that workout and then the COT, because I kind of talked about the whole idea that, you know, you're never going to truly know what someone's experiencing, right? And the fact that we had the opportunity to connect with someone and know in F3 to understand who they are as an individual, then maybe not necessarily change our perspectives, but help like influence and just gain another insight about something.
Yeah.
So during that field, right? So during that COT, I talked about, you know, me being African American, bisexual, a theater artist in Omaha community, and as an educator, and all these different identifiers for myself is like I represent so many different communities. And it's just one of those things where, like, you know, and I'm not a bad person. So let this be an opportunity to say, hey, understand that there's some individuals in our community, in our city, in our nation, who are struggling right now, and understand why that is. So it's the idea of just using your platform to just advocate for yourself and for the larger community, and just to like really to be able to give someone the opportunity, because there's some folks who may never know, you know, and who may never understand other individuals' experiences and whatnot. So the idea is just, if you have the opportunity just to be open, to be present, and to be vulnerable, you may never know who might need that. You know, it's in our society, especially as men, right? Identifying men is just sometimes some individuals have a hard time being vulnerable. And if you can say, oh, well, you know, I know that, you know, hey, Plague, like, I know you went through addiction and whatnot. Let's say if you weren't open about it, if I'm not open about it, how can we be able to connect? And you can help me and I can help you.
Yeah.
So it's just really giving the opportunity to be present, be open, be vulnerable, and connect. And I think that's why, and I've been telling guys like this, so that's why, like, F3 is a positive entity. It's a positive experience. Because if you think about it, I will say all the negative individuals who will come out maybe once or twice, we never see them because they're like, oh, well, this is not for me. You know?
Yeah.
I need to just do my own thing, you know? And I'm like, well, there we go. We weed out the assholes, you know, because everyone wants to support each other. And it's so great to see. So with that being said, I will say this. I wake up because a lot of guys be like, man, you're so loud in the morning. You're so energetic in the morning. And I'm like, look what's going on here. We are getting up at 5:30 in the morning to work out and to be here. Let's have a good time.
No.
So Roadhouse in his interview, his podcast, he talked about, you know, positivity, lean in, have fun. That's what it's all about, you know. So if I show up to your queue and if you tell me, because I'll talk about this, if you say that line, the next 45 minutes, I'm not your friend, right?
Yeah.
I do not like that, because, you know, I get it. I understand it. Some guys, again, need that push, need that, like, that tough love. But to me, I'm like, then why am I here? Why am I here? Like, if you're not, like, you can give me a good beat down and still be my friend. Like, don't start off negative like that.
Yeah. I know Wait Time likes to listen to these, so hopefully he heard that.
That's cool. I mean, I love him, but that's the thing, right? It's just like that is all about perspectives. And to me, I love positivity. I like fun, energetic. Let's be real. Let's connect. Let's fart. Let's talk about this. Let's just, let's just be ourselves.
Right. I love that. It is so funny because Wait Time, I can't remember. I remember the first time he did that, and guys were kind of like, oh no, like what? You know, like we were
right.
all, and then we realized it's just kind of this thing that he does, right? You know,
yeah.
He's not really saying we're not friends. He's just trying to like make us scared for what's about to come. And then we realized like he really just is gonna do this Dynal and we'll all be all right.
Yeah. So again, it's all about perspectives.
Yeah. Hey, I want to get your thoughts. So we talked about fitness fellowship and faith, really the third F. Just
Mhm.
want to get your thoughts on that. Kind of, how do we? Well, what's been your journey, first of all, but would also be curious too, like how are we doing as a group or community at supporting people as they explore what faith means to them? What have you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's always been like a tricky one, a tricky F too, especially when you're trying to talk to guys, when you're EHing them and whatnot. So from my personal perspective, I've always approached faith as kind of like that outward energy, as in, the first F, the fitness is kind of like, what are you looking for? Like the soul, like what do you need to do to get right? And then the second F, fellowship is all about the connectedness of the packs of with each other. And then of
Okay.
course that third F is that our energy. So like getting into the community, but but also what is that spiritual journey? How can you connect yourself to the world around you? And so for a lot of folks, that falls into religion, which is great because it is that opportunity to say, hey, there's this structure, right? Here's this system where I can have a strong foundation and learn how to live right, learning how to move forward in the world. And that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do because I'm an advocate of everyone's on their own journey. And as long as that you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting others, you do you, boo.
Yeah.
So for me, I was raised like Tosu, I was raised Southern Baptist. I grew up, went to Salem Baptist Church, which is Omaha's largest African American Baptist church off of
Hmm.
30th Lake. Actually, I went there when it was in the older building down the street, and I remember when they built the newer building. We actually marched from the old building into the new church, so that was pretty dope. Um, I started to have a separation from the church like pretty much throughout like high school into early college. Just because again, just from my own perspective, just the things I've witnessed and experienced, it's just one of those things I'm like, I feel like I understand life, as a 17, 18-year-old. I understand that there's a structure, there's processes and whatnot to move forward. And and meeting all sorts of individuals with all different religious affiliations. I'm like, I just want to be a good person. I just want to live here on the earth and just try and do well. So to me, I guess like I'm not affiliated personally. It's just more so I just really believe in being a good person and good energy. So the energy you put out is the energy you're going to receive. So of course a little bit of karma and whatnot, but yeah. So that's kind of like my relationship with the third F. Uh, and being an F3, oh man, TC and E85 talked about this, East Side Pride. TC and E85, we had a COT one time. Excuse me, they had a COT where they communicated how to them F3 is their church. So the idea, they go to F3 to them, that's like their church. And I totally connected with them. I connected with them on
Sure.
that because there's a sense of here we are as individuals taking this opportunity to really accelerate in life. And to be able to accelerate in life, we have to practice vulnerability. We have to practice accountability. We have to practice be able to communicate and work together. And really, most importantly, having that inclusive environment where we can share our beliefs with each other. So I love how I've been in closing prayers where some cues will pray to God, some cues will pray to Sky God, excuse me, Sky Q. Some gents, everyone will have their own little thing on how to close, and it's great to see that and to appreciate that and to respect that. So I totally connected when TC and then E85 said that, yeah, this is like my church. And I thought that was a great aspect because here we are bringing that good energy, that connectedness together for that PAX.
Yeah, and I love that. And I actually just interviewed TC earlier this week, and so stay tuned, right? Because guys will get to hear that. But Something that I had shared this morning in my COT, just from some of the NA literature, is this idea of the group conscience is your higher power. So like kind of this shared belief of the group, right? Like the mission that we're all gathering together around can be a higher power for people,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think there's a lot of guys in that spot, you know, the church, the religion, you know, that they grew up with is really kind of burned them in some way, or just has not, you know, really. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting just to know that a lot of guys in our group are in that same spot where they're, you know, they're exploring like what does a relationship, a personal relationship with a higher power look like. And I just
Yeah.
love that there's a space to come and explore that's not telling you or prescribing the answer. You know, we're saying here are some things we do. Here's some other guys that practice different things. And like you said, you be you, boo. I love that. I'm gonna start using that. I love that. What
sorry, and one last thing I want to say on that, you know, and I can't wait for U-Haul. Shout out to U-Haul when he gets on here.
no.
You know, and I think this is something he'll probably might speak on, is just our experiences in theater. You know, it's you know, theater is a great, phenomenal opportunity to really practice those skills of inclusivity. The idea of that we're all different. We all have different perspectives. We all have different stories to tell. So how can we work as an ensemble to share those stories, because we are reflecting the human experience. So from the get-go, like we have to practice vulnerability and share experiences with other individuals. And you know, it goes back to like that ritual, like the idea of you know, us connecting to tell stories, to do this routine, to really just connect with each other. And I think he'll be able to talk more about that. But yeah, F3 give us the opportunity to do that.
No, I love that. Yeah, I think we got U-Haul scheduled next week. He said he wasn't willing to do it till we interviewed you. But for real. He said, "Hey, he said, I'll do it.
I love him.
I'm not doing it until you got to do Othello first."
Right on.
Well,
that was another one where like I EH'd him. So that was like a June, July, August, September. That was a 4-month EH where, you know, like I dropped the seed, I planted the seed, like, hey, I think you'll love this. Because again, like Armbar told me, this is a chance for us to be vulnerable, to actually teach these guys something, because a lot of them are, you know, have like athletic backgrounds and are athletes and whatnot, and don't know how to practice vulnerability. So I'm like, you know, and knowing Ezra or U-Haul, I'm like, bro, you can offer so much. And it wasn't until like the end of August, early September, he's just like, hey man, I think I'm gonna check out F3. And I was like, great, I'm gonna get you in, brother.
That's awesome. No, that's great. And I appreciate you sharing your story. I didn't realize just your background there with the Baptist Church, and you know, so I think that's awesome. What about leadership? I mean, we think about, so you're just getting ready to be a teacher, and I can't think of a better, you know, leadership role in our community. But you also were a site Q, you know, which is a leadership role within F3. So talk to me a little bit about leadership, about being a site Q. What do you feel like you've learned over the last couple of years?
Yeah, man, absolutely, and thank you for all that. That's very sweet of you. Yeah, so I was the second site Q at Futurama after Nodos, and it was pretty much that. So again, I joined July of 2019. I think it was like January of 2020. I reached out to Nodos because I was like, hey, being the site Q at Futurama, I just want to communicate that I have aspirations to be a site Q. I'm really connected to the site. Futurama means a lot to me. I just like Futurama a lot. And he reached back and he was like, dude, this is fantastic. It is great that, you know, you're taking the initiative. And so we went out for drinks, and he kind of like gave me like the rundown rundown, about how to be a site Q, the responsibilities, the expectations. And to me, going back to earlier, like, again, I value structure, and Home Dude Nodos had like everything planned out. Like, he even gave me a template of like a VQ email that he would write to VQ, like to guys who are doing their VQ. He just gave me like the idea about how to like do the pre-blast and then I'm like, he really trained me, and I really appreciate that, because to me that gave me permission to really take what he established at Futurama and like run with it. And as an individual who I don't value being micromanaged, I like to say, if you can give me a framework and then let me be able to implement my own style or my experiences, I can just feel like I can do positive things. And that's what I did with Futurama. It was, okay, what kind of guys are showing up here, right? What does the site has to offer? And over time, I realized, from having a lot of hates, having respects, like Hipster, who would just want to walk and Terry Talk, grab him up, and there's so much space, so much room for opportunity. And me as a psych, I'm like, well, I value positivity. And I think that's something we need in F3, the idea that promote the idea of really embracing the opportunity in life. Like, look to the future. It was the idea of like, you have this opportunity to do all of these things, right? You just gotta do it.
Right. Right.
And as a leader, how can I help you? How can I support you? If I give you a solid foundation, I want you to lead. So being a site Q, I always shoot for to have one VQ a month. And that one VQ, I purposely will seek out guys for their VQ. I will like take them out, have like, a little chit chat with them, kind of give them a rundown. But the biggest thing I want to let them know, and then with all the Qs, do what you want. You are the Q. Implement your own style, your own personality. That's the stamp of this site. Here's a structure. You can follow it, you cannot follow it. If you don't follow it, then know your parameters, right? You gotta start this time. You got at this time. This is kind of the style and the energy and whatnot. So really, it's just one I really enjoy about being a site Q is just supporting guys, and encourage them to just embrace the opportunity they have in front of them. So if you want to lead, then lead, and I guess that's one of the things where I personally struggle. One of my challenges in F3 was sometimes I can get a little like, oh, well, that wasn't a good workout because the Q wasn't prepared, because to me, I'm like, again, this is your opportunity to lead, right? So you can't say, oh, I had a long night. You knew that you're going to Q tomorrow morning. You have guys who are looking forward to this, who are counting to be there and that need this. So, I think it would behoove you to just really take the extra time to think about your workout and think about what kind of things you can share with other guys. Like, it's such a phenomenal learning opportunity, and just to share your perspective. So, so as IQ, I just really encourage guys to just be themselves and plan workouts that exercises they like, things they feel like they can do, things that bring them joy, and just be themselves. Because sometimes I feel like it's hard for guys to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I love, I've over the years been lucky enough to see some emails from you. So I've found the January 19th, 2021, your expectations of you as a Q, kind of your communication to the guy who's getting ready to Q, and for each workout, first and foremost, have fun and be yourself. And you're pretty straightforward, right? You've got letter 2A is create a workout plan, no winging it. I'm like, hey, and I love that, and that's I think that is leadership, right? You're guiding them. You're saying, here's the expectation at the site, and ultimately, if you can't meet these expectations, that's fine. Just don't Q here. I think the other thing that you did that was really cool was you put together kind of a succession plan for Futurama, and I remember sharing this with the other site Qs. I don't know that we had a lot of them adopt this, but you put the history of the site just kind of like, why did we start the site? What's that identity? And included some of the verbiage about like, this is a site for positivity, that's helping us look to the future kind of stuff. And I just thought that was really, really cool. So you did a fantastic job as a site Q.
Yeah.
Curious, as you selected mac and cheese as a successor, what was that process like? And I know, I guess the email I'm looking at, you actually selected three different guys, and it was kind of like a battle to pick the right one. But from your perspective, handing off the site, what did that feel like?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it was the idea that, something you care about, it's time to pass the leadership. And by passing the leadership, how can this next individual like take the leadership and then like Nodos did to me and run with it? Like what can they add? What can they bring to the table? So it's just one of those things where I just didn't want to take this responsibility lightly. Like if I'm going to have a succession, I want to make sure that the right individual is in the spot, is in the position. And it took time. I wanted to see who was posting there, right? What kind of energy they brought, what was something special about them, as in like, was there a moment that I was able to connect with them at a vulnerable level, and that's why I was like, yeah, I think U-Haul, I think Mac and Cheese, and I think Lucky Charms would be great individuals because of what they brought to the table, of course, U-Haul right at the gate, just because of us having like the similar process and experiences, I knew that he would be able to bring a lot of that to the table. But of course, he already has eye on possibly starting his own site, which did a phenomenal job with Ironwood. Absolutely love Ironwood. And then with Lucky, I just have a solid connection with, like, he's another, yeah, I should have given him a shout out earlier. Lucky is another individual I absolutely adore and respect. And he's a guy where like I feel we have like a similar background where I kind of group him like, so him, Armbar, I got this thing where I call a white boy ratchet, where it's one of those things where they're just themselves. Like Lucky, like you see what you get, right? He's a talented dude. He's a hardworking dude. He invited me on to be part of like the like committee or board, or part of the board for the not the board, excuse me, part of the committee for P4K. And he's just like he's accelerating. But he was in the process of moving. Like that was something like was on his radar. And there was other responsibility, other leadership responsibilities for him, like being like in the works. And I think that was before Titan Alley.
Yep.
Was it that's how long ago it was? Wow.
Yeah.
Um wow.
Crazy, huh?
Um yeah. So I was like, okay. And then Mac and Cheese, uh, he's just one of those guys. I mean, he was showing up to Futurama. I love how he just embraced who he was. Like, he was just like, this finance dude, and a bit like he's the hate, so he was younger. And but the one thing I really appreciate about Mackers was that every time we will rug or pre-run, or just interact with each other, he was able to be vulnerable with me. Like that was really cool. Like it wasn't forced. It was a natural, hey, let's talk about these things. Yeah, Santa Saunter. We did a thing where we drove out there to do that, and then we drove all the way to the canyon for the workout. And I don't know, but he said something where like, because I was like, I think we are going to skip the canyon. We're just going to do the saunter, the Santa Saunter, and he just said, but we can't leave those guys. We can't keep those guys, like we can't leave those guys there at the canyon because there wasn't a lot of guys posting down there. And just the way he said that, I'm like, man, you're right, man. We can't leave them. Like we have to go and be there and support and help. And so, and to me, that's an individual valuing relationships,
No.
and I love that. So now I was like, yeah, it has to be mac and cheese. So, or mackers, like we call
I love that, man. What about for you, as guys are maybe listening, and obviously I want to respect your time, but I want to give you space to share, like,
Oh, I got time. I'm good. I'm on good.
what could we be thinking about, praying about, or, when we see you, what could we be offering encouragement for? Like, what's going on in your life right now that you just would love some encouragement on?
That's so weird because TC talked about this morning in his COT, where we all had to give one word of something we need right now, and
Oh,
mine was encouragement. So, wow, that's cool. That's really cool how that happened. See, good energy. Boom,
I love
boom,
it.
boom. We're connected. Uh, so yeah, so for me is just, and by encouragement is just keep going, keep being steady is my thing right now.
Mhm.
Because I'm definitely going through a transition in my life where I view myself finally entering quote unquote the big boy job. Like this
Sure.
is the first time where I have a salaried job.
Hmm.
This
Okay.
is the moment in my life when, to me, which is weird because it's like, of course, you've been working all your life to get where you're at right now. But for me, everything I experienced, throughout my 20s have led me to this point, and I feel like now I'm starting like the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
again, 2 years ago, I had the intention to move to Chicago and, work as an actor and as an educator there in the city and whatnot. And having the support from West Side, having the support from F3, it's like, and having support from the theater community. Nah, this is my home.
Yep.
I always valued communities and just the idea that we're working together. And I had all those things going for me. So why move and essentially start all over again?
Right. Right.
Um, so so for me right now, throughout my 20s and the first, 2 years of F3, I was just kind of like, I was a freelance theater artist. I taught private acting lessons. I did drama club in the summer with Brazilian and Honey Stinger. Shout out to them for letting me, be able to instill life skills and theater skills with their 2.0s. Because that's a passion of mine.
Hmm.
I was going on tours. I worked at Love as an EA and started a theater program there. So it was just one of those things where I was doing a lot. And now that I have that sense of clarity, like, all right, let's pull up the big boy pants, right? I got my salary job. I'm start thinking about, what does retirement look like? What does investing look like? I want to buy a house the next 2 years, start a family. Like it's just like I'm really starting that next phase of my life. Like I've always said this to folks, like if I can say my life is in a trilogy, I am starting book 2 right now. Like I'm at the start of book 2.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm excited. I'm excited. So really, it's just encouragement. Just really saying, "Hey, man, I see you. Keep pushing." In addition to that, right, encouragement. It goes back to F3, because I was not posting a lot in the spring. And of course, I can say, I was my priority was doing teaching, and I definitely communicated that. Like that's my priority was doing teaching. So stay up late, wake up early and whatnot. But my health definitely was impacted. Like I definitely gained a lot of weight. So since July 18th, I have a shield lock that I connect with. Um, since July 18th, I switched my new routine where I'm like, nope, the school year is starting. I got my first big boy job. I'm ready to go. So I got to get back to fitness. And so I posted every single day since July 18th,
Nice.
and been doing 2 a days. So I'll do F3 in the morning. I also will do like a pre-ruck or a pre-run, which I'm starting that up pre-running now. I did my first 3 mile run this morning
Nice.
in like a year,
Nice.
uh,
Good work.
with No Cry and U-Haul. So, we're planning U-Haul, Rance and I are planning to do a 10K, 6.2, right?
Oh, yeah. 10K. Yep.
Yeah, man. We're gonna do that mid-September. It's just I'm just getting back to the basics, because you gotta have fitness. Like that health is important.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I love F3, because it's that solid foundation. And that's for anyone. If anyone feels like, oh, well, I'm busy doing this, or there's another priority in life, that's cool, right? Because that's life happens.
Yep.
Life happens. So you do what you need to do. But also note that F3 will always be there. It's a solid foundation, and I love the fuck out of that.
Yeah, man, I love that you said that because even for the guy that showed up one time and said that what it's not for me, I can't be vulnerable. Like there will be a day in that guy's future where he's at the end of himself and doesn't know where to go. And I hope they come back, because we're gonna be like, hey man, you posted 2 years ago and we remember you and we still love you. Like that's just the community we've created. I love it. And even for me, like in different seasons where I haven't been able to go, you kind of start feeling like, oh man, I got to get back, but will they judge me? And the answer is no. Like never.
Absolutely not.
It's just not our approach. But is anything else on your mind, or anything else that maybe we didn't get to share that you would just kind of leave the guys listening with, just to know about you, or maybe encouraging word for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. Two things. The first thing is just because you and Pony will do this on past episodes. But favorite exercises
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
ones you don't like.
yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I definitely love monkey humpers and pickle pushers and bear crawls.
Okay.
Um, and it's one of those things where, like, yeah, as a cue, when you come out beat downs, you should always expect at some point we will do monkey humpers, pickle pushers, and some type of bear crawl. That's my jam. And again, it's the idea that do what you like to do.
Yeah.
Uh, with that being said, I will be very vulnerable and say this: the exercise I do not like, which I haven't heard this being said a lot because everyone say like burpees or Bonnie Blairs and whatnot, which I don't like Bonnie Blairs. And I don't like hydraulic squats. Uh, chain runs.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely hate chain runs. And I will be vulnerable and say that and admit to that. That's my own personal challenge. Because here's the thing, bro, right? If you're a Q, and this is the device, if you're a Q and if you want to do a chain run, then you better effectively communicate how you want the chain run to go.
Yeah.
Because if you say the person in back has to drop and do 10 burpees and then run to the front of the chain run, I'm going to look at you and be like, no, absolutely not. But yeah, that's just something I struggle with. But on my list of favorite beat downs, one of them will be a beatdown you led at Futurama.
Okay.
It was the beatdown where we did Australian mountain climbers and Mactarian dives and bear crawling around the circle. Like that,
Yeah.
that left a huge impression on me. So thank you for that workout. That is on my top 5 list.
All right.
Um,
Awesome.
and going, what's up?
I said honored. Honored to be on that list. Awesome.
And then my last one, just because I got to give him credit, because it was the toughest beatdown I've ever experienced. And that was John Claude at Paradise.
Yeah.
Because the whole entire beatdown was a chain run.
Oh.
And I texted him right after that because I didn't quit. There was a point where I told Grills we left the apartment complex crossing the street to go into the neighborhood. That's when I was like, nah, you got to keep going. Like, I know you want to pick me up, but but that one, because Sarah Todd in Slow Pitch would tell you, I was breathing heavily by the time that we got to the pond. Like I was, I'll do my leg. Oh, like I was, and Terry Todd was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But as a person who did not have a athletic background, and especially with all my peers in F3, you are incredibly fit and phenomenal athletes and just in good shape. That kicked my ass, and he had a phenomenal COT. But I told John Claude that was probably one of the toughest beat downs, and thank you for doing that, because something that I absolutely hate, you had me do that at a running site, and I felt like I felt I accomplished something huge that Wednesday morning. So I have to give Jean Claude a lot of credit on that one, because that was a fantastic feeling.
I love that. Man, Othello, so much great insight and wisdom from you, and hopefully it guides you out there. We can give you some encouragement If I'm queuing and you're there, I'll make sure to not do the whole we're not today routine. But man, let's here we'll wrap this up in name Rama here. I'll start us off.
Awesome.
Play Hardy 36 to play.
Whoop. Radio Cordell 34 Othello.
Dude, your call sign is just like the joy that like emits from when you say that, man. And there's like a little kick move to it too, right?
Yeah. Well, do you know how that started?
No,
because I'm a creature by habit, man. It started when we were during the pandemic, where we didn't do fist bumps. We had to do foot taps.
Okay, yeah.
And that just like stayed with me, and I kind of like I don't know, it just evolved to like a little hop. I don't know, it just naturally evolved, and yeah, that's how it started.
That's awesome. Hey man, I'm thinking we actually got mac and cheese next week, so I think it might be cool to drop your episode and then his, just to kind of do, and then we'll have you haul. So we'll kind of do those in a row in the next.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate your time, brother. This is great. I'll be thinking about you to start school this next week too.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for your grace, your dedication, your fierce leadership. And just know that we all see you. I'm very proud of your accomplishments, and you keep grinding, brother.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Love you, man. Have a good weekend.
Love you too, man.
All right. Later.
See ya.